Thank you. I love you. My question is, what is the easiest way to connect to Abraham and really listen and really hear Abraham? And how do I keep my analytical mind out of the way?
We want to begin by saying you don't need to keep your analytical mind out of the way, because analyzing, considering is one of the best parts of being physical. You've gathered a lot of information that you're wanting to evaluate in relationship with what's now and what's new and what's next. And so there's a sort of bridging process that takes place that is not only satisfying but very helpful. And so don't be hard on yourself about having an analytical mind, but do be more mindful about the value of the data that you are analyzing. And that's why we began today the way we did, because if you're analyzing data about what you don't want and you're getting really heavy-handed in it, then you are actually preventing yourself from getting into the receiving mode of the mind that you really want to hook up with, that is really a beneficial analyzer.
Okay.
When you beat up on yourself, I'm too analytical, just the very approach at pushing against yourself keeps you from hooking in to the energy of your inner being. And that's why you've decided that being over analytical is not to your advantage, because clarity often goes away in that process. But clarity doesn't go away because you're being analytical, because you're analyzing. Clarity goes away because you're pushing against yourself for being analytical.
Okay.
Because your inner being adores all of the data that you've collected and wants to give you information about what pieces of it benefit you and what pieces of it don't. If you don't know, if you don't bring both sides of the equation in, you can't focus upon what you want. It's all part of the process. So we're just going to give you this one brief thing. We know you've heard this, but it will be beneficial as this beginning base point. So we talked to you about law of attraction. Most of you get the sense of that. Law of attraction abounds. You get what you think about, whether you want it or not. And step one of the creative process is you sift and sort through the contrast in an analytical way and come to your own important and personal conclusions about what you prefer from your analysis. That matters. It's really good. So I know what I don't want so far, and this is what I do want so far. As that analysis produces an idea or intention, it radiates from you vibrationally. You don't need words for it. Your life experience causes it to emanate from you. And your inner being, who remains non-physically focused, takes the benefit of your analysis, knows the rightness of what you've concluded so far, and focuses unequivocally on what you have concluded. Therefore, your analysis has caused an evolution of you and your inner being to a fresh new place, and everyone celebrates. So now we call that product of that analysis. These are all new words that we're offering in response to what you are producing here today. We call that product of your analysis this vibrational reality. We call it this vortex, where this vibrational reality now exists because of your analysis, and your inner being accepts it and joins it, and in fact becomes an unerring vibrational offerer of your new conclusion. And then law of attraction begins immediately responding to that new state of being. So when that happens, now you feel emotion in relationship to how well you joined your inner being in the product of your new analysis, or how much you're pulling back from it. Is this making sense to you?
It is. At the same time, along with that, I'm trying to sort of have an ongoing dialogue with Abraham, and I guess is...
Well, we're getting to that. So this vortex exists, and so then we began saying to you, wrote 2 books about it, Get in the vortex, get in the vortex, get in the vortex, because that's where it's all at. That's where everything that you want is. And now we're saying to you, find vibrational sameness as the vortex. Let your awareness be upon finding some way, by paying attention to the way you feel, of finding vibrational equivalency to what's in your vortex. Now we're demonstrating this high vibration because what's in your vortex has no resistance in it. So as you find vibrational equivalency, meditation is the easiest way we know of. Appreciation gets you there. Satisfaction gets you on the road to there. And if you stay satisfied, it takes you all the way home to there. But once you accomplish this vibrational equivalency to your inner being, then what your inner being, or your Abraham, what Abraham knows now is your knowing too. You are the receiver of it. It's being presented to you. It's being revealed to you all the time. But if this vibrational frequency is here and you're down here in dissatisfaction, then you can't hear it. So the answer to your question is, you must, if you want to have knowledge about what's in the vortex, if you want the knowledge of your vortex or the knowledge of your inner being to be known by you right here and now, then first of all, your emotion must feel great to you. Because if it feels anything less than satisfying, then you're on a vibrational frequency where no matter how much analysis you do, you're not going to hear what your inner being knows, because your frequencies have to match up.
Is that why when I was sitting here before the workshop started, all these sort of whimsical things started coming into my head, which seemed to be...
broader perspective flowing with you. Nothing serious going on here. This is going to be a really fun day. Sometimes when people sit to meditate and those kinds of thoughts begin flowing, you feel like you should shut them down because your mind is active and you think that it shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I thought, this is kind of weird.
But when you tune into source, then you know what source knows. You feel what source feels. Isn't that good to know?
Yes.
Yeah. So now what?
Any exercises you want to recommend to do this better?
Most important, let satisfaction be your quest. Catch it early. So in reaching for satisfaction early, what follows from that is an understanding that the earlier in the day you decide to lean in the direction of who your inner being is, then the more likely you are going to be able to do it. We wrote a book several years ago called Ask It Is Given, and we put 22 processes in it. And all of those processes were written with the intent of taking you from wherever you are, and each process sort of indicated where on the emotional scale you might be that this process might benefit the most, to help you raise vibration by releasing resistance. We want to point out to you here today something that you have not considered before, and that is, as you are finding relief, in other words, let's say you're feeling some despair and then you begin to feel some revenge, and you feel the relief that revenge gives you, because doesn't it feel better to feel revenge than to feel despair? Are you afraid to say yes? Well, because you have some control in your revenge. In despair, you felt completely powerless. But in revenge, you feel a little more control. We're not saying you want to get stuck in revenge. We'd rather you went into anger. Anger feels a lot better to you than revenge. And with each one of these, there's a release of resistance, and so there's a feeling of relief. And frustration feels way, way, way better than revenge or anger. We want you to notice that when you move into the frustration range, that now you're pretty close to dissatisfaction and satisfaction, and that when you cross over into satisfaction, something really important has happened. You've left your last resistance behind. Now, you don't have a lot of momentum in satisfaction, but we want you to isolate in your own mind, identify the visceral feeling difference between relief, which is letting go of some resistance, and satisfaction, which is absent of resistance. And so when you discover that your real work is to tend to your vibrational frequency. That you've already done all the goal setting and all the planning and all the asking in your analytical step 1 phase. And step 2 was done for you because source lined up with everything you asked for. But by reaching for satisfaction, now you're doing step 3, which means now you're holding yourself in a vibrational frequency that will allow you to be vibrationally equivalent to what's in your vortex, so that what's in your vortex can flow into your mind in just the way you ask for it too. You really hear that, don't you? In other words, you set us up with the best string of questions so that we could deliver back in response to your best string of questions this best string of answers. So how do I go about it? You care about how you feel first and foremost, and you tend to how you feel by catching it as early as you can, and by not beating up on yourself when you feel negative emotion, because negative emotion and stronger and stronger and stronger negative emotion only means you started out a little dissatisfied, didn't catch it, and law of attraction got hold of it and turned a little dissatisfaction into greater and 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 greater dissatisfaction. And you have been you have been analytical enough in your life experience that you have whole reservoirs of unwanted from your analytics that are at your vibrational fingertips if you want to tap into them. Are you getting this? And you have all kinds of wonderful alignment thoughts that are at your vibrational fingertips that your lifetime has yielded for you. Ooh, this was a good conversation. So the answer, what do I do in order to best control the direction of my thought? Catch it early. First of all, did you follow all of this? Do you believe that you have a vibrational reality? And do you believe that your inner being is there tending to it? And do you believe that you must be in the vibrational vicinity of it to receive it? And do you believe that when you receive it, that it's a benefit to you, that that's where clarity comes from? That's where all of this orchestration of the energy that creates worlds works for you. That's where your true leverage and power is. Do you understand that law of attraction is yielding to you whatever you're offering vibrationally in any moment? And do you get it that you can feel what you're doing? And that if it feels really strong negative emotion, you're out of control. Take a nap. That really is not the time to try to fix anything, and yet that's when most people try to fix the most. Gonna wrestle this to the ground and I'm gonna kill it. We say, no, you're not, because law of attraction is a bitch. In other words, it's just going to get bigger and 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 bigger. So when you catch it early, when you let that be your intention and then you watch what happens, life just gets better and better and better and better. So step 1, you got that. Contrast helps you decide what you want. Step 2, source lines up with it. Source becomes a vibrational equivalent of it. Source becomes it. It's done. Everything you've asked for is vibrationally already accomplished. And everything necessary for the full-blown manifestation of it in your experience has already been gathered. Step 3 is you find some satisfaction or better that allows you to let it in. Step 4 is you get really good at that. Step 4 is just you're a master at step 3. Funny that step 4 would just be a master of the step before it, but that's the way we're calling this one. Step 4 is you want so much to feel good and you understand the benefit of it that you've mastered it. It's your go-to feeling. You give yourself and others the benefit of the doubt frequently because that's what feels best to you. And then step 5 is our favorite step of all. Step 5 is where you're back with your analytical mind, back in step 1. But this time you're not beating up on yourself for doing it. This time you understand the value of step 1 and contrast. And like your inner being, you're looking forward to the new product of that analysis.